Welcome to Studio One on this Thursday, October 13th. Glad you could join us today. I'm Tom Buring. Up ahead in this half hour, we'll talk to Sioux Award winner Major General Keith Nelson. Also joining us, UND's Dean of Arts and Sciences, Bernard O'Kelly. And in our Open Door segment, a little music from a performance by the Police. But first, let's go to the news desk with Marilyn Vetter. Marilyn?
Thank you, Tom. AT&T has given $100,000 to UND. AT&T Chair Robert Allen presented the endowment to UND President Thomas Clifford this afternoon. It's in honor of former UND alum and AT&T Chair James Olson, who died earlier this year. Olson was one of UND's most widely known alumni and was awarded an honorary Doctor of Law from the school in 1987. The money will go to the UND School of Engineering and Mines. This Monday is World Food Day, organized by the United Nations. It's dedicated to the problems in producing and distributing food to people around the world. UND geography professor William Dando says there are 500 to 600 million people suffering from food problems such as malnutrition. Dando says the real problem is not producing food but distributing it. He says most of the families of the future will be in urban areas because the people are food consumers, not food producers.
40 million or 30 million food consumers who are not producing food. Now, if there's any disruption in food supply, and we think it'll occur, there's going to be a segment of society that's going to starve.
During World Food Day, there will be a teleconference at the Wesley Center focusing on food production, the drought, and problems in North Dakota. UND student government will soon have 3 branches. Similar to federal and state governments, it's expanding to include a judicial branch. The new branch will interpret the student body constitution and Senate bylaws in an effort to avoid conflicts over interpretations. The student body president will appoint 7 voting justices. Applications are due a week from tomorrow, and they're available at the student government office in the Memorial Union. UND's hockey season starts this weekend, and the Fighting Sioux have many new faces on the team. Bruce Mann has this preview.
Last season, the University of North Dakota played poorly at the beginning of the season, but improved by season's end. Coach Gino Gasparini would like to see that season-ending style of play this season.
We just want to try to pick up where we left off a year ago, and if we can do that, I'd be very happy, to be honest with you. But then again, I think maybe that may be a little bit too much to expect at this time of the year, for the simple reason that we do have a lot of new faces in the lineup.
12 players, to be exact. Goaltender Chris Dixon believes it'll take an all-out effort from them and everyone else to be successful.
It'll take good goaltending. It'll take the freshmen to come along and really contribute, because we do have a lot of good young freshmen. It's important that they really contribute, and we'll need some good performance out of our seniors.
Minnesota may be the class of the WCHA this season, but a young, talented UND team should be a top contender.
I think we have to set our standards high this year, come out and play hard in the beginning of the year. As everybody knows, last year, our first half of the year was terrible, and we have to come and play the whole year this year, not just the last half.
The 12 rookies and the rest of the Sioux take on Northern Michigan this Friday and Saturday night at Ingolstadt Arena. In Grand Forks, Bruce Mann, Studio One Sports.
And that's a look at today's news and sports. Tom?
Okay, Marilyn, if you or anybody else is looking for something to do tonight, Grand Forks is offering a variety of events. 4-Part Harmony will come alive with the Oak Ridge Boys at the Chester Fritz Auditorium for 2 shows, one at 7 and one at 10 p.m. Also, the UND Film Society will present Cabaret, the Bob Fosse musical starring Liza Minnelli. You can catch that show at 7:30 p.m. in Merrifield Hall, room 300 here on the campus. Burtness Theater kicks off its 88-89 season at 8 o'clock tonight with the Russian comedy Wild Honey. The play runs through Saturday and opens again next Wednesday. And also, just so you can plan ahead, the Vienna Choir Boys will perform at the Chester Fritz Auditorium next Tuesday evening, October 11th at 8:15. For a look at the weather around the nation, here's Studio One meteorologist Susan Betcher. Susan?
Thanks, Tom. Sunny skies have brought warm temperatures to our area today, and it looks like we'll have more in store for this weekend, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. In the almanac, we had a high yesterday of 57 degrees, a low this morning of 42 degrees, and no precipitation was recorded. Currently at 4 p.m. in the Grand Forks area, we have mostly sunny skies, a temperature of 64 degrees, winds from the south at 14 miles per hour, and a relative humidity of 37%. Taking a look at our surface map for today, out west, a cold front off the coast is creating some rain showers throughout the coastal regions of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. Temperatures are in the 50s and 60s in the north and mainly in the 60s and 70s down south. To our east, a high-pressure center is located in Kentucky and is creating cold temperatures throughout the New England states, and snow has even been falling in parts of New York, Maine, and Pennsylvania today. As for our region, a warm front is located through the western part of the Dakota states, Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and is creating some rain in eastern Colorado. This warm front should be passing through the Red River Valley sometime early tomorrow morning and bring us warm temperatures for the weekend. That's what it looks like across the United States today. I'll be back a little bit later with the Red River Valley weekend forecast. Tom?
Okay, thank you, Susan. Sports fans, get ready. Now, besides the A's and Dodgers World Series this weekend, the Fighting Sioux take to the ice for their home opener against Northern Michigan this weekend. Both games have a 7:30 start at the Ralph Engelstad Arena. The volleyball team will compete in the Lewis Invitational Tournament in Romeoville, Illinois, Friday and Saturday before facing rival NDSU on Wednesday, October 19th in Fargo. Saturday is homecoming, and the Fighting Sioux football team will take on the University of Northern Colorado. Game time is 1:30 at the Memorial Stadium. We'll talk to one of this year's Sioux Award winners, Major General Keith Nelson, when Studio One continues.
When the clock strikes half past 6, babe, time to head for golden lights. It's a good time for a great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac tonight.
Now, buy any large sandwich for just 99 cents. Limited time offer at participating McDonald's.
Children with cystic fibrosis want to grow up. More than half of them are now living into their 20s, but that's not long enough. It attacks a child's lungs, and there is no cure, so far. But today, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is supporting the research that can soon end this disease. The money you give goes immediately to help find a cure. Give a child a chance to grow up. Accept the challenge and support the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Welcome back to Studio One. Our first guest started his prestigious military law career right here at UND during a time when ROTC was mandatory for all male students. After years of hard work with the Air Force, he went on to become the 9th Judge Advocate General of the United States Air Force. Major General Keith Nelson has returned to his hometown of Grand Forks to be honored as a University of North Dakota Sioux Award winner in celebration of this year's homecoming. Studio One welcomes home Major General Keith Nelson. It's good to have you, Major General.
Thank you very much.
What's most meaningful for you about this award?
I guess the sheer shock of getting it. The Sioux Award, as I have known it, has always been given to very, very important people, and I've never considered myself to be in that category. When I got the telephone call, I just couldn't believe it. In fact, there was so much disbelief that I had to call back and confirm that it was really true.
Do you get back often?
I get back once a year or so on the average to visit the base out there and look in their activities or give a speech in the area or whatever it happens to be, and always look forward to it.
Your travels take you all over the world, and from what I've been told, you do quite a bit of speaking, and in that speaking you share quite a bit about the values that you learned back here in North Dakota. What are other people hearing about those values? What kind of values?
My education was not given to me. I worked very hard for it. I'm very proud of it. I worked a full-time job the entire way through undergraduate and law school here. And those values and that work ethic that I gained through those years and the encouragement of my professors who cared about me as a person, the institution out here who cared about me as a person, and those work ethics that enabled me to share the importance of learning, the importance of work, and timing yourself are those values.
You've also talked, too, about the fact that you were married when you went to school, had to hold down a full-time job. You learned some early discipline in those days, which paid off later in a military law career. The fact that ROTC is no longer mandatory, are we students missing out on something?
Well, that's a tough question. It's probably beyond my knowledge to really comment on that, but that fact was, in fact, a very important value for me.
I want to pass this on, too. You were nominated by the President, confirmed by the Senate as the 9th Judge Advocate General of the United States Air Force. Would you explain or go into even detail and define the magnitude of this position for people that may not have any understanding about it?
And it would be very difficult to explain for those that don't have a basic understanding of it. It was certainly a great honor for me, for the confidence that the President put in me, the Congress by confirmation, and the officials of the Air Force to nominate me for the position in the first place. My job consists really of the overseeing of the practice of law in the military. We have some roughly 1,400 military attorneys and 200 civilian attorneys, reserve attorneys, and so forth. And they're involved in a myriad of activities. We try a lot of people by courts-martial every year. People think that that's some kind of mysterious justice that happens, but in fact we operate under the rules of evidence that are almost identical to the federal criminal courts. We have a system of independence of our judges who act full-time in that role. I assign them, I oversee their ethics, their responsibilities, prosecutors, defense counsels. We're involved in the federal courts, being sued. We have some 2,000 lawsuits against the United States Air Force for people suing us to get out, people suing us to get in, people suing us to stay out, people suing us to stay in. It's absolutely incredible. We have environmental concerns and lawsuits trying to bring an aircraft weapon system into a community that may not want it, or a small segment doesn't want it. There are tremendous environmental concerns. We run noise contours, and then we end up defending those in courts and the like. That's a very long way of saying we're doing many things, and I have a lot of people that are doing those specialized things, and I oversee them.
That's quite a responsibility. And briefly, you were touring in Europe. You came at your request back to North Dakota. That was a catalyst to launch your career.
I wasn't really touring. I had an assignment in Germany, which I enjoyed very much, but it was time at that stage of my life to get out of the military and come back to Grand Forks and practice law as I intended to do. I called in and said I would like an assignment to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and they said, well, you will just get out. And I said, well, that is true, but you will get a year out of me then, so let's do that, and they fortunately did. I came back, and due to a number of circumstances which are really too lengthy to go into detail here, I decided to stay on in.
Major General, congratulations
on the award. Thank you very much.
You enjoy your time this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Pleasure being with you. Pleasure to be back to Grand Forks.
Yeah. Sioux Award winner Major General Keith Nelson. After this break, a concert clip on our Open Doors segment, so stay with us.
Clint Eastwood is a little upset.
Seems some misguided individuals out there are abusing our public lands, and I don't like it. And I don't think you do either. Vandalizing parks and robbing historic sites, or overrunning wild areas, those are ours, and we have to save them. As I see it, these clowns can either clean up their act or get out of town.
Write Take Pride in America. Post Office Box 1339, Jessup, Maryland 20794.
With every edition of Studio One, we go beyond our studio to bring you a selected feature for the week. Today on our Open Doors segment, we'll look at and listen to the world of Sting. From the Omni in Atlanta, here's The Police.
Caught in the hot treetop. same old thing as yesterday. Oh, still hear me call inside the pouring rain. The world turning circles around my brain. Like a star is falling to the land gets great. But it's not just the beat to be the king of pain. In the 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 pain. I'll always be 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 in the pain. Always be in the pain. Always be in the pain. Always in the pain. Always, 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 always be in the pain. In the pain. In the pain. In the pain. Always be in the pain. I'll always be in the pain. 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 Thank you.
Sting, the Police, the King of Pain. Sting has been recently touring with Bruce Springsteen and Tracy Chapman in the Worldwide Amnesty International Tour. When we return, we'll talk to author and UND's Dean of Arts and Sciences, Bernard O'Kelly. Live theater. Grand Forks has it. Since 1947, Greater Grand Forks Community Theater has entertained the region and spotlighted local talent. Now based in a historic downtown fire hall, the group produces several plays a year, offering musicals, dramas, comedies, classics, and children's theater. Season tickets are now on sale. Call 746-0847 for more information. Our next guest is a familiar face to those in the university community, although his endeavors are certainly not just limited to the university alone. UND's Dean of Arts and Sciences, Bernard O'Kelly, was born in Canada, but is co-authored and is currently updating the North Dakota section of the Encyclopedia Britannica. We welcome to Studio One Dean Bernard O'Kelly. It's good to have you, Dean O'Kelly.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
I would assume that would take up quite a bit of time writing for an encyclopedia.
Yes, the original article did. But both for the original article in 1970 and for the revision, which was mostly done this August and early September, I was able to count on the help of a great many authorities and a great many fields, a great many people in various state offices whom I called to check for information and so on. Wonderful cooperation, so that makes it easier.
It does make it a lot easier. We stated in your introduction that you were born in Canada and you spent quite a bit of years in Canada. Do you think after writing an article about North Dakota in an encyclopedia, does it make it a little easier for an unbiased, objective article for a transplanted resident?
It's a question I wouldn't have thought of before this afternoon, so I thank you for giving me a question that hadn't occurred to me. I think there is an advantage to seeing any place, any political entity or geographic region objectively, if you've had the experience of living in other places, to see the advantages, for instance, of a place like North Dakota. It's a help to have lived in a number of other places, as I have.
When you talk about the encyclopedia, now, I would think you, as well as anybody, could view the progress of the state, writing articles and revisions about it. If that's the case, not just are the revisions favorable, but is the progress for the state of North Dakota favorable?
Well, that's a hard question.
I'm stumping you, huh?
Well, deans are very evasive by nature. North Dakota as a state has existed for 100 years, and it's had a lot of ups and downs, as you know. There are many, many changes over those 100 years, and probably two of the most advantageous to the state are the growth in our transportation and in our communications. And you're in the communication business, so you know how important this is. But this life in this state was much, much harder before we had the communication system and the transportation system that we have now.
After writing the article, would there be anything surprising for North Dakota residents that they'd find about themselves or the state?
Well, sure. I think so. I think it's, well, an encyclopedia article is necessarily highly compressed, and to have a great many facts about your native place in a small space like that is always a little different from reading a wide variety of sources, because you just are pulled up about every second or third sentence. I knew that, but I'd forgotten it, or I hadn't quite realized that was the case. I should think for many North Dakotan readers, this revision, this 1988 revision, will contain one of the biggest surprises, and that will be in the bibliography. The bibliography in an encyclopedia article is always one of the most important things, and I found revising the bibliography that Elwyn Robinson and I had put together in 1971 just a delight. There are so many new, recent, and wonderful books about North Dakota by North Dakotans, many of them by people here at this university. Plus, of course, just some wonderful fiction capturing the spirit of this place. The 3 novels of Louise Erdrich, we didn't have those in the early 1970s to include. Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit, Dean, and speaking as a dean, in the encyclopedia it was stated about undereducation, 90% finish high school, 73% of those go on to post-secondary, and a great majority go on to statewide colleges and universities within the state of North Dakota. With the financial difficulties in the state, would there be a growing concern in future revisions that we might lose those majority?
There could be. Let me say that's one of the facts that many North Dakotans may not realize. Some may take it for granted, but that's a staggering proportion. That's just, by national standards, that's an incredible level of education in this state, and it's something to be proud of. If we are unable, collectively, if we the people of this state are unable to maintain the excellence of our higher education, then yes, I expect more of our young people will go out of state for education. But I myself believe we are going to find ways to maintain it. And I might point out that the net on the import-export trade, students going out of the state and students coming in, there are more students attracted into North Dakota institutions, mostly to UND and to NDSU, than there are North Dakota students going out. So we're a net gainer so far.
Dino Kelly, thanks for coming on. We're going to have you back on sometime. Would you be willing to do that?
I'd be very happy to.
We'd love to have you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We'll take a final look at the weekend's forecast when Studio One continues.
When the clock strikes half past 6, babe, turn to head for golden lights. It's a good time for a great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac tonight.
Now, buy any large sandwich for just 99 cents. Limited time offer at participating McDonald's.
What do North Dakotans do during the winter? Hey, been to a state park lately?
Come out and play, North Dakota. Our state parks are open year-round.
Coronation for homecoming king and queen is tonight at 7 o'clock in the ballroom of the Memorial Union. A coronation dance sponsored by UPC will follow at 9 o'clock with Ipso Facto providing the entertainment. Big day of festivities for Saturday's homecoming parade and game, so let's go once again to meteorologist Susan Betcher for the weekend forecast. Susan?
Thanks, Tom. Our forecast map for tomorrow morning shows the warm front now located into western Minnesota and temperatures around the region mainly in the 40s. Looking at our forecast in detail, tonight we'll have clear skies, a low of 43 degrees, winds will be from the south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and there's no chance of precipitation. Tomorrow, we'll have mostly sunny skies, a high of 74 degrees, southwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and again, no chance of precipitation. Our extended forecast shows partly cloudy skies Saturday with temperatures from 70 to 75 degrees. On Sunday, skies will be mostly sunny and we'll have slightly cooler temperatures from 65 to 70 degrees. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful homecoming weekend, so let's get outside and enjoy this warm weather while we still have it. That's the weather. Tom?
Thanks, Susan. Let's do it. We'd like to thank our guests, Major General Keith Nelson and Dean Bernard O'Kelly, for joining us today. Our appreciation also to our friends at NCTV. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great weekend and see you again next week.